It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Rise and shine. You're on with this Do Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was Wow Wednesday, and we started off with our girlfriend Vivian and her socially conscious segment. And cucumber lovers, there's a recall. Yes, thanks to the infamous farmer who got some people sick last year. Here we are back again, and some 9 people have been hospitalized, and the cucumbers were put out between April 29th and May 19th. So if you have purchased cucumbers, please watch out for any symptoms and make sure you get any illness addressed immediately thereafter. Okay? All right. Don't forget that now. We want to make sure you're here to watch and to be a part of the show. We don't want you to be sick. Okay? All right. Well, they're talking about Biden. Yeah, unfortunately, our ex-president has been diagnosed with cancer, and there's some stir because they don't know whether he was ill while he was the president. We've just stepped in to a new presidency at the top of the year, and they say based on the aggressiveness of and the progression of this cancer that he could have been sick back when he was president. And we got to talking, and is that important now? No. Would it have been important then? Yeah, for some of us, but now it's an issue of him actually, is this curable? Has it gotten too far? It seems to have advanced pretty far. So just simply prayers up for ex-President Biden. All right. Well, the New Orleans prison break is at the top of the news still because as far as we're concerned, there are still prisoners still out in this country. Yeah. And there's some real questionable stuff that happened that people are wondering, was the maintenance man a part of it? Yeah, because they say, well, he tells the story that he was being threatened to shut off the water, which enabled them to pull the toilet off and get out of the jail, and 10 prisoners. So, some of us, think that, yeah, he has something to do with that thing. Others say, well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe he was forced to get this done. Well, listen, if he had told, he could have definitely, relocated, get out, make sure you don't go back to that prison anymore. Because listen, this is not federal jail. These people that probably ain't got no money. Yeah. What could they have threatened you with, or what could they have promised you? That's the other question. If he is a part of, this whole thing, what could they have really promised you to get you involved? So, there's a whole big stir also, because they say it took a minute for them to even find out that the 10 prisoners were missing. Well, taking into consideration the count and all that kind of stuff, and the fact that there are 3 other people involved. So listen, between the maintenance worker and the 3 other people, 4 people could definitely help you get that done. Yep. So I don't know, y'all. Hopefully they'll catch up with these criminals, because there is one who is convicted for murder. So, we don't know the circumstances in which he murdered somebody. So we don't know the circumstances of him being out and a free individual. It may be all or nothing for him. He may have said, I ain't going back. So hopefully they put their hands on them real soon. Well, middle schoolers, teachers, yeah, somebody else in the news for doing some things they ain't got no business doing. Well, there's a teacher in the school who had a middle school student threaten her, and we don't know what the threat was because they would not itemize the threat. But she didn't like that, and she didn't take that threat lightly, and she called her 18-year-old brother to handle the situation. Now, 18 years old, you are officially an adult. So you called an adult to handle a child. Well, they sent the kid home with all kinds of bumps, bruises, scars, lumps, and parents got to asking some questions like, what happened to my kid? Why they thought that this was not going to get some attention, we don't know. But nonetheless, yeah, that's what ended up happening. Well, they want answers. They want answers because from what they understand, the teacher is still sitting behind a desk teaching other students. Now, when you imposed a threat and a danger to the other students, man, or to students at all, as a teacher, they needed to have removed you immediately. Forget about any questions. Yeah, get rid of you from behind the desk. So hopefully, they'll deal with her accordingly. Well, there was a side conversation yesterday about this Australian woman who was not too happy with the misogynistic conversation that took place when she went out drinking with the boys. Yeah, it seems like she may have been the only one in there on the female side. And as she and her friends got to talking while they were drinking, I'm going to keep bringing that up, while they were drinking, he made a statement. Pretty much, she needs to stay in the kitchen making scones. In other words, stay barefoot and pregnant. Pretty much. That's the American way of saying it. Well, she did not take too kindly to that remark. Well, 24-year-old woman took and doused the 23-year-old friend with a gallon of gasoline. And as she waved the lighter, threatening to set him on fire, he said, go on, do it. Listen, drinking will cause you to do and say a whole lot of stuff. And I guess maybe he didn't want to be shown up in front of the boys. And she did it, set him on fire. Now, he was left with quite a bit of injuries. Yeah, they say he sustained 55% burns over his body. He had some sweat glands burned off. He was put into a medically induced coma for 8 days after the attack. And he had to get 10 operations and spent 74 days in a burn unit. That's something to do to your friend. Yes. Standing before the judge, she really regretted everything she said and she did. It's her friend. That's what she stood by. It was her friend. And if she could take it back, she would. In the comments yesterday, as we went out, Shantice said something that was really interesting. She said one demon was challenging another demon. And as you see, there were no winners. Everybody was a loser. Imagine spending the rest of your life knowing that you were burned over 50% of your body and you went through some excruciating pain and results from a friend. All because you couldn't keep your mouth shut, and all because she told the judge, well, since 2022 when I had my breakup, with her intimate relationship, she's been going through. Listen, it's hard to keep ourselves in line when we don't drink. This drinking thing is going to cause a whole lot of chaos in your life. Trust me, I've watched it. It is not good results. So as we can see, there were no good results here either. And now she's going to spend a lot of years in jail for this one incident. So, let this be a lesson and a cautionary tale to all of us, whether we are drinkers or not. Keep your head on straight. Keep your head on straight and think about what you're going to do and say before you do it and say it. Because once it hits the air, once it's done, it can't be taken back. You cannot erase what someone has been told, what someone heard, and you cannot dictate or determine how anyone will take it. Now, when she was waving this lighter and he said, go ahead, do it, he didn't think she was going to do it, because had he thought she was going to do it, he surely wouldn't have put that challenge out there. So who are we challenging? Are we challenging the enemy to do some things? Because that's exactly what's going down. So that's how we spent our Wednesday. Well, today is Wow Thursday. Yes, it's Therapeutic Thursday. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there to the end of the week. By the grace of God, we are here to discuss anything regarding your health, your physical health, emotional health, mental health, financial health, spiritual health, any health. Yeah, laughter, yeah, it's the best medicine. So we're looking forward to having a great day today. So go ahead and get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody that It's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
Diabetic must be eating this one vegetable every single day. Type 2 diabetes is caused by something we call insulin resistance. Insulin resistance has been linked with the deficiency of two minerals. First is chromium, and the second one is called vanadium. This means that many diabetics are diabetics because they lack the nutrients needed to regulate how insulin works. Now, what if I told you there is a vegetable that has chromium and vanadium in large amounts, and when consumed regularly, it can aid significantly in the reduction of not just your blood sugar, but also the underlying reason for your diabetes. That vegetable is string beans. String beans are readily available, they're cheap, and we can use them to make juices. We can use them to make stew, steam them with your vegetables, and you can also eat them raw. String beans are one of the most important vegetables that a diabetic should consume every single day. You may even reduce your need for medication and perhaps even reverse your diabetes.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, and it is Therapeutic Thursday. Yes, the day we discuss our health in any shape, form, or fashion. So you know how we do every single morning. I like to say good morning to my loyal viewers and giving God thanks for you. But I don't know you're in the room unless you check in. So make sure you check in and let Pastor Steph say good morning to you. Well, we got our first check in. Terrence, good morning, Terrence. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Happy to have you. Girl, Kenny girl, good morning. You know we love having you in the house. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we got our girl, Vivian, good morning. Looking forward to talking to you in a little while. And thank you for joining us on this side of the fence. Well, we got to say good morning to the ladies that hold it down each and every morning. Otherwise, we would not have our YouTube Live or our Facebook Live. Let's say good morning to our girl, Anika. Hey, Anika. Good morning. Good morning. And let's say good morning to our girl, Shantice. Good morning, Shantice. Looking forward to talking to you as well on the other side of the fence. All right. Well, I came across health tips. Yeah, it's a little different this morning. We're not going to talk about necessarily what we put in our mouths because the EMS people are speaking to us this morning and they want to give us some safety tips because there are some fatal mistakes that you could be making on a daily basis. All right. So let's see what they have to say. They say, if you are choking and you are alone, try to get yourself into a high traffic area, such as a hallway or outside your house, something like that. Because they say if you pass out, somebody might find you. And at least if someone finds you, you can get some help. If you're alone and you're busy panicking, that may not help. They say call 911 even though you can't speak. They say someone will be sent to your location by dispatch. So that's a nice thing to know. I mean, listen, you never know. You never know what you can do if you're choking. All right. They say stop looking things up on your phone and self-diagnosing. Yes. They say just answer EMS's questions. Honestly, nothing worse than addressing the 911 call and then getting to the ER and the story is completely different. Make sure you keep up with your information. All righty. They say know your utilities. In particular, do you have gas-fired appliances, hot water tanks, furnaces, grills, or fireplaces? They say carbon monoxide alarms, are a must, but spend an extra $10. You can get one that also tells you if an explosive gas level is building up in your home, RV, or business. Wow, that's news. I didn't know that one. Oh, okay. Wow. They say every year people are injured and even killed by hitting a deer at moderate to excessive speed. They say when the deer runs out in front of you, do not slam on your brakes or swerve. Wow. I think that's just an automatic reflex. Woo. Yeah, you just see something pop up in front of your car. Yeah, that's kind of automatic. They say a vehicle can easily be maneuvered when the brakes are stomped on. And if there's someone behind you, there's a high chance they will slam into you. Swerving is also a bad idea because it's easy to slam into a tree or a pole you didn't see due to darkness. All righty. So make sure that's something that you don't do. All right. They say when in an emergency vehicle comes up behind you with lights and sirens, do not stop in a blind turn or hill unless you can get completely off the road. Too often, they say they've had to go LOC to get around, hoping no one is coming from the other direction. Go on to where it is safe to pass. If an object is impaled in someone, like a knife or a metal rod or a stick, don't pull it out. We've seen this on TV and movies all the time. Are you still thinking about doing it? They say let the pros do it. You can bleed to death quickly. Yeah, they just don't pull it out. Yeah. Listen, if you don't look at TV, you might want to look at some movies and some TV. Because you pick up a whole lot of stuff. When the plane catches fire and you have to emergency evacuate, do exactly that. Leave personal items behind. They can be replaced. People can't. All righty. Well, let's just hope that is not a situation we are in. They say 911 dispatcher here. For the love of God, know where you are. Wow. an address, an intersection, the business's name, etc. My first question to every caller is, what is the address of your emergency? Don't assume we can ping your phone or that we know where Dave's house is. Wow. I can only imagine what these 911 operators get. I can only imagine, especially when people are panicking. And I think that's one of the things that's here. So if it's here, I don't know, because I haven't gotten to it on the list. But if not, let me say it. Don't panic. No, for real. Do you realize that when you panic, all your sensibility goes away? Yeah, there's no rationale, and a lot of mistakes are made, or things aren't done, or you can't hear things properly. Yeah, so please. Wow. Never put your faith in an object. Examples: the life jackets, bear repellent, etc. These things are only supplemental. You first need to learn to handle dangerous situations without these tools, because you're doomed if they fail and you don't know what to do. Okay, all right, that makes a whole lot of sense. Know the status of your kids. As first-time parents, we confirmed when one of us left our son with the other parent. Use door locks to prevent young kids from unauthorized access to the outside. Also, I cannot tell you how many 911 calls I've been on when a child or a teenager's friend doesn't even know their name, much less where they live or who their parents are. Yes, that's some serious stuff right there. Wow. They say, no, I got to read this piece. I was about to go by it until I looked twice. This was particularly true with parties involving alcohol. Know their friends, know the parents of their friends. Didn't I tell you? All righty. Test the smoke alarm of your budget hotel, motel room, and your Airbnb. All right. All right. To add to keeping your feet off the dash, don't stick your arm out of the window while driving. I've seen many amputations when someone had their arm out the window when the vehicle flipped. Wow. See what's going on in this chat room. We got to check in from our girl, Tamika. Good morning, Tamika. Look forward to chatting with you in a little bit. We got something from our boy, Serge, to check in. Good morning, Serge. Thank you for joining us this morning. Vivian says, that's me. I'm terrible as knowing where I am, especially when driving, shaking my head. I need to do better. Yes, know where you are at all times. You know what I've learned to do from years ago? There are markers on the road. There are markers on the road. And a lot of times people are not looking at the signs because they're looking for exit 23 or no. Always watch your signs. Know where you are, because if something happens and you may have not paid attention to the marker necessarily, but at least you could tell them I just passed, the St. John's exit, something, the little key things that you can pick up on. Or I just passed I'm on the belt and I just passed, the Wendy's, they'll be able to determine which Wendy's, you were at. So, pay attention to all those little things. We got to check in from our Majesty. Hey, Majesty, what about them Knicks, Majesty? At the last minute, they gave it up. Oh, my goodness. Tamika says my cousin has half an ear on one side because he had his head out of the window when his car flipped over. Wow. Well, my mother told a story. Talk about heads out the window. Don't get caught like Tamika's cousin. My mother said that when she was younger, there was someone riding a bus and had his head sticking out the window, waving to somebody, hit a pole and knocked his whole head off. Yeah. So we got to make sure, We do these things, that will safely keep us together. All right. Oh, just terrible. They can't be trusted. Yeah. Them Knicks, honey. Them Knicks. All right. What else? We got a couple of minutes to go over some other safety suggestions. Never realized how important it is to have clearly visible with light on at night address numbers on your location until I became a first responder. We have lost victims because of the critical time of our response wasted while the ambulance crew, police, peers out into the dark trying desperately to determine which house made the call for emergency services. And yeah, that's us. But I got a big bright light in front of my house, and the other two houses have numbers on them, so I got to get some numbers on my house. All right. Makes sense. I'm an MD, former county director of emergency preparedness. Always prepare for emergencies. Have a plan and practice it for automatic response. Continuously attend updated and refresher classes for CPR and other training programs. Okay. Never apply a tourniquet unless you are trained or instructed to do so by a medical professional. All righty. Tamika says, that's crazy. Terrence says, that's crazy. I would never put my head out of a moving vehicle, car, train, bus, whatever. Yeah. There she said he was, they were like, it was a passing like a school or something. And there was a bunch of kids outside and he was hanging out waving. And boy, that was his last wave, unfortunately. Tamika says, please teach your children your name and address so that if they are ever lost and you ask their parents' names and they say mommy and daddy. Yeah, you've seen that where people have said, what's your mommy's name? Mommy. What's your daddy's name? Daddy. Yeah, make sure they say the name and make sure they learn their address. Listen, once they start talking, you can teach them a whole lot of stuff. Kids have an incredible memory and they can learn and memorize quite a bit. Listen, put it in a song. You better believe they're going to learn it. Yeah. Put it in a song, Yep. And even if the person asks and they have to, you'll get it out of them. Yeah. For pet owners, train your pets with smoke detectors and treats. So test the smoke detector and give them treats and make them find you so they don't hide during a real emergency. Wow. That's a good piece of advice. Never go into the water to save another person without appropriate kit and training. Seriously, just no. Do not do it. It doesn't matter how much strong a swimmer you think you are. 3 bodies instead of 1 is not an uncommon outcome. Wow. Those were some good tips. Thank you so much for your tips and your warnings as well. We appreciate it. All right. We're coming to, listen, Due Time Crew. I might ask you for a tip. So please think of one. All righty. We want to know whatever we can get from you. Okay. Sometimes you got some little tips that we can benefit from. And we'd appreciate it. Okay. All righty. So what is the news talking about today? All righty. Where do we even start? All righty. Here we go again with another scam. Let me tell you something. You can always rely on people to fall for a scam, one way or another. And some of these scams, I just don't understand how you could possibly fall for some of these scams. This is just like crazy. So they have this woman in Harlem, and 79 years old, that was scammed with a lottery scam. Now, I couldn't figure this one out. You know me, just like I said the other day, as soon as you start reading the captions, you start thinking, and I'm like, well, how in the world did you get caught behind a lottery scam? Well, they say around 11 a.m. near West 138th Street and Broadway. They say that she was approached by a couple of men who presented her with an alleged lottery ticket and persuaded her that they would share the earnings. Now, I do understand that, as we get older, some of us lose some of our faculties. But by 80 years old, you should be then figured out that somebody who won a lottery, who bought a lottery ticket, ain't going to just share the lottery ticket with you. They're not going to share the winnings with you. Who are you? You don't know me. You never met me. You said good morning, and you're going to share this with me. Lord, have mercy. Help us. Well, they say she agreed, and they allegedly threatened to assault her and made her take them back to her apartment. Well, they took jewelry and cash valued at $27,500 and ran east on West 137th Street. They do have, some surveillance videos and stuff like that. And first of all, I'm just real funny. I'm not talking to people. I'm automatically my senses go up. Don't walk near me. You're walking too close. Just go ahead. Step back. No, I don't know nothing about no logic. Enjoy your day. Yeah. It's just too much. What you talking to me for? There's nothing to talk to me about. And as an elderly person, nobody should have any business talking to you. You don't need no help. You don't appear in no distress. No, there's no reason for you to talk to me. How long did they have to talk to me to convince me that they had this lottery ticket and they were going to share some earnings with me, and I would agree? What could you have said? What could you have said? So, you know what? This also, we need to talk to our elderly, family and friends, because see, we think that they're on the ball. They think that they're on the ball. She wouldn't, if you said to her, well, listen, Miss Mary, don't let them people talk to you. Don't let strangers walk up on you. No, I'm not gonna let no strangers walk up on me. But yet they managed to walk up on her and talk to her long enough that they could even get that far. Okay, listen. No. You ain't ministering to nobody, so you don't have to talk to them. All righty, let's see. Well, here's another story that I do want to talk about, which is really interesting, but I'm going to come back to that one. I want to come back to that one. All righty. Here we go. Listen, these people are so desperate. These illegal immigrants are so desperate. So you've got this 24-year-old illegal Venezuelan who did get, I'm trying to figure out, how did he get into the country to begin with? Because they did say something about him actually getting in the country to begin with. And they are not sure how he got so far into this particular plan. But they say that he went into a school, 24 years old, that he went to a school and he presented some documents to register for high school, and he was enrolling as a 16-year-old young man. He had identification, he had all kinds of paperwork to enroll as a 16-year-old student. Well, somebody had eaten their Wheaties that morning because they picked up on something that was apparently fishy. And they said that he had actually enrolled as some unaccompanied minor. And that's normally not done. So somehow or another, he got to a certain point, but somebody picked up on it. Now they say that in accordance with federal and state requirements, you have to enroll a certain way as a student, even if you're experiencing homelessness or without a legal guardian. So in some states, you're actually allowed to enroll in school without being accompanied. Well, that's where he was. They say between January 11th and May 14th, January 11th of 2024 and May 14th of 2025, the school said that he obtained documentation and support, which further complicated the situation. They say he obtained a state-issued driver's license, social security number, and a temporary protective status from United States Immigration. So he registered, he enrolled, and then he had to bring back further documents. And when that became questionable, then that's when they called the authorities. Now, here's my thing. You gotta be desperate when you're 24 trying to pose as somebody 16. Really? Now I know you may not look like I have a daughter who does not look like she's 27 years old, going to be 27, but she sure don't look nobody 16. So again, this just indicates how desperate we are. And I don't know who told him he was going to be able to get away with this thing, but he tried it. Well, he was picked up and he is now in jail, and he has a $50,000 bond and scheduled to appear in court. So he's going back, needless to say. He's going to be on the first thing smoking back to Venezuela. Now, speaking of school, they had some level of melee at a graduation at the university at Buffalo. And what happened was there was a gentleman who has been going to school. He's a father of a young child, a baby. And he's been studying. He says he's a full-time student, working 2 jobs, one of them overnight. He takes care of his son during the day until his mother gets home. And then he goes to school, he goes to work. He's been at this for quite some time, and he finally graduated. Yeah, it was finally time for him to graduate and get his degree in criminology. So he promised his little son, baby, that he would be able to, that they were going to graduate together, because he said it's been a real struggle and his son has been his motivation, and they were going to graduate. Well, he did reach out and ask if he could graduate and walk across the stage with his son in his arm, and he had gotten approval. And they said, no problem. Well, he's online with the baby, and someone sees him and says, You can't do that. And he was like, well, I got permission already. I did ask, I did get permission. And they said no. And they said, if you don't, we're going to have to call the police. Well, they did. Well, he was not taking this laying down. When they called his name, he ran across the stage with his son in his arms. And the cops were chasing him. Yeah. By the time it was time for him to go across the stage, the cops were chasing him already. But when he got on the stage, in the middle of the stage, he said everybody started clapping and cheering him on, which prevented the abduction. They weren't going to touch him at that point because now he's in front of everybody. How do we look getting this, doing this thing here? He said, and then he left. They read his name, they cheered him on, and he left. We just came from a graduation of my daughter. And I have to tell you, people are, during this time, there's just all this excitement going on. And people are yelling and they're screaming, especially when somebody's name is called. And I can only imagine him going across the stage. And you didn't even have to know him. You just see this guy in his cap and gown with his baby in his arm. And what do? You just start cheering. It's like, yeah. Because you realize how much of an accomplishment it is. You don't even care whether you know him. You don't care whether he's black, white, red, green, brown. You don't care. You just see this accomplishment and you're just cheering it. And that's what happened. So it took over, the fact that he was not supposed to be up there. Nobody knows that in the audience anyway. And, they did talk to the school, and the school said that it's a safety thing. They did put out that the only people that are supposed to go across the stage are the people that are graduating for precautionary reasons, and especially a baby. And they were really concerned about that. But I guess to call the cops, come on. Do you really want to mess up an entire graduation ceremony like that? So, he did write back in an email apologizing, to the school. They did allow him they didn't penalize him. I guess their heart went out, afterwards. They didn't penalize him. He was allowed to graduate. He did, he is going to get the degree in criminology. And they said, but the baby, he hasn't earned enough credits to get his degree yet. So in about 20 years, come on back, finish up, and we'll let you walk on your own. So let's catch some of these comments. All right. Tamika said, Terrence says, yes, train your animals. Very, very smart. Yeah. To get your animals involved in your emergency situations. Terrence says, I say anyone in the world would get scammed anytime, depending on our life issues. And if we think we're getting a break, they always say, thank God, but boom, it's a scam. Terrence, yeah, you're right. Anybody can get scammed, but Dad, get scammed for something that's scammable. Good and well ain't nobody giving you no lottery ticket winnings. Stop. That ain't happening. No. That's right. Leave that man alone. Let him walk with his baby. That's what Vivian says. And Terrence says he better expect that $1,000 so he can leave on his own and come back. Terrence says, why say sorry for something they said he can go crazy, make it make sense? Yeah, somebody told him yes. So, had you told him no from the beginning, then he wouldn't have gotten the baby and had the baby in his arms on the line. Vivian says, I watched the graduation yesterday and a few people walked across holding their baby. What danger is there holding a baby and walking across a stage? Be real. Yeah, you listen. They always got to come up with something, right? They always got to come. So they got to, come up with something. Whether it makes sense or not, they always got to come up with something. I say, listen. Go ahead. Go ahead. Like I said, all I can imagine is somebody on Tuesday running out, or walking out in the middle of the stage. These, I looked at this whole graduating class, and this was actually only part of this. They had a ceremony that morning, and I was looking at all those brown robes, and I was like, wow, what an accomplishment. What an accomplishment. I can really appreciate this graduation process, not because I was looking at one of my own, but just like I said, looking at the arena of young people, adults, people who decided I'm going back. They were, part of the speech was for like people who went through the first 4 years. So, graduating out of high school and, going straight into college, completing those 4 years. And there were other people. My daughter's 35 this year. So, and there were some older people, older than that. Just the accomplishment. And like I said, to even if somebody walked out there with a baby, I couldn't even imagine just not standing up and cheering. That's just how I am. And I can't imagine this whole arena going up. And, people are doing that. People are doing that now. And there's no real danger. But of course, they got to say something in order to justify calling the cops. Like I said, how long do they walk across the stage? It takes like what? But they're not even there 60 seconds. They walk, they call, they snap a picture, and they keep on moving. They don't even stop. So, come on. All righty. Let's talk to the Due Time crew. Because I do have some videos today that I want to show. Where's my girl, Tamika? Let's say good morning. What? Hey, where's Tamika?
I am she, and she is me. So Tamika's not on yet.
Oh,
Tamika isn't on yet.
All righty. Who is anybody on beside you?
No, that's because I'm your day one Pastor Steph. See what I'm talking about?
It's not because I don't want you.
You keep overlooking me. I grew up.
No, it's not because I don't want you. It's always Lady Tamika first. So is she actually chatting in the chat room, but not on? Pastor KL says he's here, but Pastor KL can't be my first.
Wait, he says I'm here. Hold on. Then you ain't here. He's one of those people who call you and you answer, and then they say, "Hold on. How you put me on hold and you called me? Why you didn't finish doing what you were doing first?"
All right, Shanti, so let's talk. You're my day one. All right, Terrence says, listen, everybody's going to fall for a scam at one point or another in their life. And it's probably true. Mm-hmm. It's probably very true. However, I'm sorry. Who is going to go get a lottery ticket, win, and find you out of nowhere at 11 o'clock in the morning and give you some money for nothing? Please tell me who.
Pastor Steph, you just spoke on this graduating class, and I was very, very happy and proud of my sister walking across the stage. One of the things that I understand in life is that most people, you either get the degree in education, in academic education, like the books, or you get a degree in common sense in life. Very few people get both degrees. And if I have to choose, I'll choose a common sense degree. Because at some point, what I learned academically ain't gonna matter. And this proves it. I agree with you. When someone walks up to me, I had someone chase me down the other day to hand me their business card. Sir, you're a little too eager about your business. I don't even care what your business is about. You didn't have to chase me to 50 blocks. Listen, I'm a brand and business owner as well. If I gotta say excuse me twice, it wasn't meant for me to give you this card. I just don't. How you? And I'm just so happy I had the type of grandmother I had, who she would scare you off before you even considered approaching her. Because this here is, grandma, if you wasn't my grandmother, I'd slap you. How somebody gonna just pick you to share some free money with? What? And then how do you end up at your apartment? See what I'm talking about? Because there's way too much conversation going on.
Yeah.
And then in a photo, they were bundled up. So it's cold. So I had to stop in the middle of the cold and listen to this scam. No, that was a bit much.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That just ain't making a whole lot of sense to me. Terrence says, scammers are just like technology, meaning we all see how technology evolves and get better. So do scammers. Absolutely. Listen,
Not this particular scam.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not refuting anything. I'm not refuting that at some point in all of our lives, we will be scammed. But listen, if you're going to scam me, you're going to have to be real savvy. Not walk up to me. You don't know me. You have never seen me. You go and you play the lottery and you hit them 6 numbers. Now, you hit them 6 numbers. I don't care if you're going to win 1,000 or if you're going to win 10.9 billion. You pick them 6 numbers and you win. And you're going to walk up to me and say, you know what, ma'am? I'm going to share this. I got this winning lottery ticket. You know what? Bless you. You go ahead. You keep your money. Now, you didn't talk long enough for me for you to threaten me. That's too much conversation. Way too much conversation. I
done got way too much in life. I done got scammed into messing with the wrong men. I done got scammed into I done got scammed into choosing the wrong job. I done got scammed. But see, these are things, it don't mean I wasn't stupid. These are things, like you said, Pastor Steph, it's like you had to get deeply invested in order to scam me. Like I had to go on an interview and you really had to rehearse how you were going to convince me that this was the right restaurant for me. And then show me that for the first year or so and then let the true restaurant be shown. This here, this is stranger one-on-one. Stop letting people walk up on you. As a woman, a woman. Right. I don't want another woman walking up on me. I don't want a child to walk. Listen, I don't discriminate. As a child, don't walk up on me trying to sell your candy bars. Unfortunately, because they got kids who set up the initial meet and greet in order to get you. Don't walk up on me as a kid. I would never have my niece out here selling no candy. If my face ain't convincing enough for you to buy this Nestle Crunch bar, I just won't be making this dollar. Because I don't want my niece walking up to nobody. Unfortunately, there's just way too much going on. Like you said, Pastor Steph, you have to be on guard with everything and everyone. Yeah. How did you allow this to even happen like this? And then for them to end up at your apartment, that part, I'm really perplexed. Like, you done showed up at my place of residency. How?
Wait, hold on. Terrence said they did not just walk up to that person. They did their research on that person. Also, Shanti, stop with the men. Stop with the men scammed you.
Jesus won't let me scam nobody. Because he know I scam you. Pastor Steph wouldn't only be on his due time with Pastor Steph on YouTube. Pastor Steph will have her own official network. Forget Oprah and her weed. Because if I scam, I'm not scamming for no Chinese food platter. I'm scamming for the big bucks. Okay?
Well, thank you for being my day one, Shantice.
You're welcome.
Get Lady Tamika up on here because I'm getting ready to whip her for being up in this chat room and not up on this screen. In the interim, while you do that, it says the victim was approached by the suspects who presented her with an alleged lottery ticket and persuaded her that they would share the earnings. She told a story, Terrence. They approached her. What studying did they do? Quickly, yeah, she was an old lady and they figured they could run the scam and they were right. That's the studying they did. Oh, good morning, Lady Tamika. Type in instead of getting up on this screen. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I was at a graduation. See what had happened was.
You know what?
Oh, goodness gracious. Listen. Okay, so Terrence wants to defend the old lady. Maybe it was his grandma and he just ain't telling us about it. But does this scam make sense to you?
Absolutely not. You know, I am very cautious. I'm very, you know, as a New Yorker, we're bred to be cautious and look at your surroundings. That's one of the first things that you're supposed to do. You know, okay, fine. And you can't just walk up on me by myself as a female. I don't care who you are. You know,
right.
I've seen gentlemen that appear to be blind. You know, you sitting over by the Popeyes asking for change as people come by, and you see somebody, you know, a nice lady dressed all nice, and you watch his hair go, but I thought you were blind. Wait a minute. You know, like there are all kinds of scams out there. I've seen a guy in a walker, you know, he was sitting there for a while. Every now and then he'll just get up and walk out, you know, with the walker, fold the walker up, walk away.
I saw that scam before.
You know, there was a gentleman that used to, you know, panhandle in my neighborhood, crooked over for years. You know, he was crooked over, and my father was born with polio, so one of his sides was a little shorter than the other. So, you know, my father would be, you know, the first person to look. This guy is leaning on the left side, you know, and one day my dad caught him. Whoops, he's on the wrong side. So my dad said to him, "You leaning on the wrong side, ain't you?" He said, "Huh? What?" You know, so you know, I don't trust people like that. Now you're talking about you're gonna engage in a conversation with me. You basically get good 5 seconds from me, you know, to talk. You know, a lot of times you see people coming, you see them. You know what they look like. You know their expressions when they get ready to ask you for something. You can't come up to me like that. And so you're going to engage in conversation with me enough to get me to decide that I'm going to engage with you with regard to a lottery. I don't know you, you know, right, and I'm supposed to fall for it. Yeah, you had to see that coming. Come on, mama. You had to see that coming.
Yeah, come on. I know you're getting feeble-minded, but age should have taught you something. All right. Terrence says that Shantice tried to scam him with some chicken and he didn't fall for it.
The scam is his memory. Next.
All right. Where's Vivian? Another one chatting instead of being in the screen. What y'all doing this morning? I gotta get y'all off these screens. Good morning, Vivian. You on mute?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Oh, it's not showing me on the thing. I'm well. How are you?
I'm okay, thanks. I'm okay. Listen, we're trying to figure out, should she have fallen for this scam? Terrence says we're all going to be scammed at something. Stop messing with his grandmother. What you think?
I think she must have been part of the maintenance man who they threatened to shank her, because why would you? I don't care how old you are in today's world. I feel like the older people are more suspicious than the younger people.
Right.
I don't know what that was about. Maybe she was lonely and she was very happy that somebody was finally talking to her and wanted to come over to the house. I don't understand it. Especially being older, you got to be careful. Too many stories out there of people raping elderly and, you know, doing all types of things to people. So you got to be real careful.
Yeah, this wasn't a smart move. He says not taking up for the old lady, just saying they know who to approach. They probably was watching that lady for days before they came up to her. I mean, absolutely. You know, they do know who to target, and they would not have targeted a man. with this, there was this thing here. And, I don't know how long they were watching her, but I don't care how long you've been watching me, you're going to watch me walk away. How about that? Oh, my goodness. All righty. Thank you for joining us, ladies. Where's Pastor KL? Is he in the room, really? Is he really up? There you go, Bosley. Good morning.
Good morning, angels. How you ladies doing?
Good morning.
How are you?
All right.
Good morning. All right. So, should this woman have fallen for the old lottery ticket? And I'm gonna share some with you. Scam.
In who I am now, no. And who I was then, yes. I tell the story all the time. I had women paying my rent. They were literally not piece of the rent, the whole rent. So I mean, I could understand the scammers, but we got to wake up to it. Definitely got to wake up. Me personally, you can't give me a piece of bubble gum because I know something's coming behind it because that's who I was. The young folks say that game recognized game, so you can't get me.
Okay, so you're talking about you got the girl to pay your rent. You walked up on her and you got this woman to pay your rent just like that?
Well, I mean, in so many words. I mean, I had to coax her for a couple of weeks.
No, we're not talking about the investment. We talking about
you're not answering the question. I said, did you walk up on her and say, ma'am, can you pay my rent? And she said yes. That's what we're talking about here. They approached her and they told her they had a lottery ticket and they would share the winnings with her. That was the approach. That's what she told the cops.
Let me go back to the room. Hold on. I'm gonna call and tell you to hold on.
yeah, because you ain't paying attention to the story.
Listen, hey. I'm getting frustrated now. I'm already old. It takes me time to understand the story. No, I wouldn't have fell for that, or she should have fell for that. But she old, she lonely, she had friends. She thought she had new friends.
Well, yeah, that's what Vivian said. Vivian said maybe she was lonely.
That's
maybe
why
she was happy somebody was talking to her. So y'all got to befriend the elderly people. So now this turns into a PSA for how we need to befriend the elderly in the neighborhood. And I'm not joking. If this is the case,
it turns into your children and your family has to not forget about you or just put you in that home and walk away. How about that?
Mm-hmm. And understanding what the word. Let me look up the definition for him.
We got a switch chick coming.
Yeah, she's going for the dictionary. Pastor KL has approached her and said he got the good. If she can pay his rent, I get it. That was Terrence for you, Pastor KL.
Wow.
Where's Vivian?
I don't know, but can I share my? Oh, she's here. Wait, let me read the definition of a friend. Y'all be thinking Jesus playing with these definitions. A friend is someone who shows consistent love, loyalty, and support, especially during difficult times, and someone who is willing to speak truth, even when it's hard. Where was the consistency when you walked up on me on the street? You don't love me when you're lying to me. You ain't known me long enough to be loyal. You are creating the difficult times, so how can you be there for yourself? And it wasn't hard for you to trick me. So nothing about this said friend. Okay?
Well, again, we have to really think about her state of mind, during this time, because this was really a very careless, I'm just giving God thanks that they didn't kill her, because had it been some other people, it could have cost her life. So thank God they didn't hurt her. Thank God they didn't kill her. And again, let this be a warning to all of us to be very careful of these scammers. Every time we turn around, they're alerting us to another scam. And we know the elderly people are prey. So let's just keep them lifted in prayer so that they do not become, victims to these levels of scams. I came across a video on Instagram, and it stirred up some thought in me. So I got some videos together, and the question is this God? Is this God really blessing us? Shantice, play the first video. It kind of goes in line with what we just got finished talking about.
Yes.
Oh, both.
Look, wait, look. I got the money. I got the money. Up on in. Yo, you are so beautiful. What's your name?
So how do I get this money? What do I gotta do?
All you gotta do is sit here and talk to me about your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Look, did you do know the return of the book of Revelation? He's returning soon, right?
Just know you're talking.
Wait. Hear the word. Hear the word.
Just know you're
Hear the
talking.
word. Hey, yo, excuse me. Yo, you are so pretty. You got a man?
Yeah, why are you slow? You're creeping me out.
No, I ain't mean to creep you up, man. I just want to talk to you for a minute. You just so beautiful. Like, can I have like a minute of your time? Hold on, look.
No, you can't.
Look. Wait, look. I got the money. I got the money. What's your name?
So how do I get this money? What do I gotta do?
All you gotta do is sit here and talk to me about your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Look, did you do know the return of the book of Revelation? He's returning soon, right?
I just know you're talking.
Wait. Hear the word. Hear the word.
I just know you're
Hear the
talking.
word.
All righty. I didn't even realize the how this coincided with what we just got finished talking about. Is this God? Does God bless us like this? And we talked about somebody walking up on you. All right. And she got called. She didn't want to be bothered as long as he was giving her, the words. But once he mentioned and showed that money, she got up in the car. What? Lord have mercy. Tamika, what we talking about here? Is this a way we should approach people to draw them in to talk to them about God?
Absolutely not. He enticed her with money. That was the thing that she was looking for. And that scares me because my thing is, look how easy you got into a car. You know what? All of your chances of fighting have just diminished by getting in the car, and he flashed a couple of dollars at you. And of course, that's definitely not the way to, get them out. There are things that you can do, but that's definitely not the way to present God. At this point, if she's never been to a church, she probably won't go. With that type of thing. If you fan of money, hey, look, I got this money. Then she gets in the car and you start talking about the word. That's definitely not what she was looking for, and nothing that she wanted to hear. So we're doing God a good service by that.
Okay. All right. Vivian.
Yeah, that's not God in any way, shape, form, or fashion. If that was real and that's really how you're luring people in to talk about God, that's crazy. And she was willing to get in the car. Like, what you want me to do for this money? But then once he started talking about God, she was like, no, you got to be kidding me, and got out of the car. So he said anything else. This is what you got to do to get this money. She was up for it. But you want me to listen to you talk about God? Nah, I'm not with that. That's crazy. But no, that is not God. That is not how we get people to be willing to hear about God offering them money.
We got a check-in from Miss Erlima. Good morning. Thank you so much for stopping by. Good morning. Woo! Shantice, is this a way to attract people and get your attention so you can talk about God?
She fell for the old banana in the tailpipe. Absolutely not. You don't. First of all, you started talking to her like you was just some regular guy. Hey, yo, you look mad good. Already, men know that turns women off. The average law-abiding citizen, someone with self-esteem, that turns her off. Once you hear yo, you can say yo, you just dropped your $1,000. She will keep walking, never turn around. So already you knew that wasn't godly. Then you offering her money. Says this offering plate will go around again for the 19th time this Sunday. And for her, I was thinking the same thing. For her to get in the car and it's talking about what I gotta do. She said it like she was all exasperated. She was down for whatever. You got in a car. That's like what I was talking about yesterday about you popping up at my job. I get in your car. I don't know you. Whether you have money or not, that's saying I'm down for whatever. And it's so sad that once Jesus, the only man who could help you get out the car safely, you didn't want to talk about him. You was willing to leave that money there. You knew it was more than $2 because you didn't want to talk about him. But that's not the way we disciple. What? Jesus told them to leave the fish. That was their money maker. How you now going to try to lure people with the money? No.
Pastor KL, what say you? Is this the way? Listen, he talked her talk.
I can't afford Jesus like that. That I'm gonna have all this money to be trying to bring people into church with all this money. And then, as it was so well said, even when you fell for it and got in my car, once I started talking about Jesus, you still wasn't down. So, some folks just don't want God, and you can't beat them over their head, and you can't make any kind of ploys or, it just ain't gonna work. That's not the way we should witness. You know what I mean? Because after the money is gone, or after you get the money, are you still talking about Jesus? Or are you, even if you sat there, are you just listening to me until when you're about to get a beating, you just want the beating over.
Yo.
You know what I mean? Just beat me so I can go. So I already got the money. Say what you gotta say. Keep beating me so I can go, and I ain't gotta come back no more. So you wasted good money.
Wow.
Them beatings be real.
All righty. Video number 2. Is this God? Is this the way he blesses us?
Asking people for money? Do you need something?
Plane ticket.
You're trying to get a plane ticket?
Yes,
Where are you going?
Portland, Maine.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. My boss just called me in and said you got reported for loitering.
Me?
Yeah.
I got reported for loitering?
Yeah, he said that I actually have to write you a $500 ticket.
You lying, man.
No, I'm serious.
Like, stop lying, bro. I've been out here the last 3 days, man.
I know, they finally called it in.
Alright, I stay across the street, though. I just leave.
Here, man, just take it. Already wrote it all up and everything.
Bro, you lying.
It's a $500 ticket? Hey, wait. Thanks, bro. Of course, man. Thanks, bro. Of course, brother. Hey, you're alright, man. You're good. You're alright. Thank you, man. Of course.
What's your name?
Dawson.
I'm Jalen.
Jalen?
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you, man. God bless you.
God bless you, man.
Hey, you all right,
Bro,
brother?
you know how hard I work for this, bro.
You're good, man. What do you have to go home for?
I play pro basketball in Maine. I lost my apartment because I was in a relationship and she didn't pay her lease with her sister, and I was trying to take over the lease, but I had to wait 2 months to get my license, and they came with the police, kicked me out, but I had already made a team in Maine, so I thought I was gonna be stuck out here. I gotta be back June 10th for training camp.
You'll be there, man.
Season, man. Thank you, bro.
Of course, man.
God bless you, man.
God bless you too.
All righty. All righty. Tamika, is this God? Can God bless you like this?
I've seen plenty of these videos like that, and my thing is, why couldn't you just bless the man? You know, you got to go through all this. Oh, you got to summons, you know, that type of thing. You know, if you're going to bless the gentleman, then just bless him. You don't have to do all this, you know, pomp and circumstance, because our God is not a pomp and circumstance type of God. If he's going to bless you, he's going to bless you.
Okay. Interesting. Vivian, is this God? Can God bless you like this?
He can bless you like that, yes, but I wouldn't have gone about it in that manner, because again, in today's society, you don't know how that man would have reacted to you telling him you now have to write him a $500 ticket. He could have attacked you, he could have ran off, and then you wouldn't have been able to give him the money. So definitely a nice gesture, but not doing it that way. You just never know how people are going to react. If you're going to bless him, then bless him, like Lady Tamika said. Just do it. You don't have to make a whole spectacle out of it.
Okay. Shantice.
I think sometimes God needs to show you what could happen and then how he blesses you. So a lot of people, so he said someone reported you for loitering. A lot of these businesses are, I can't even say extra petty, but they get real intricate like that. I don't want this person standing in front of my place of business asking for this, because that's going to turn potential customers away or clients away, whatever kind of business they're running. So, you know, now we call the authorities, and where this guy who walked up on him could have been a jerk, because we see that every day, all day. You know, well, hey, what you doing out here? You asking people, you're harassing, you're loitering, you're doing this, you're doing that. And where he could have been like that, you know, it's okay. This is what could and possibly should and possibly would happen. But then now this is how God is blessing you. And to really, I feel like sometimes God needs to really show that also, because it really helps to show us. A lot of times we get blessed and we ignore how dope the blessing is, because we think it's just like any other handout. You know, so it's like once God allows you to see sometimes, because we get blessed every day, all day. Some blessings we see and realize, some blessings we don't. But if it's like I realized what really could have, should have, and would have happened, but then God stepped in and intervened anyway, and then to hear his story, how he really had to stand out there and ask, because he really didn't have, but he still had to be somewhere by a certain, you know, date and all that. That's crazy. So I feel like sometimes it needs to be the build-up to further show who God is and how he's stepping in for you.
Okay. Pastor KL.
Well, my take of it all is that, yes, God can bless you just like this. God is a God of order. You know, and if God calls you to do something, he has already set it up. He already knew the outcome. He already knew that the guy wouldn't flip. Otherwise, God wouldn't have sent you that way. You know, so I think it was well. You know, a lot of times God strategically puts us in places to be a blessing or to witness to folks. And we have to listen to God's words in order to say certain things. There may be things that we want to say, or things we may want, or ways we might want to approach stuff, but God is strategic in the things that he does. So I think this is good. I think you can be blessed this way. Obviously, you can be blessed like this.
All right, all right. Mr. Lima says that's probably why the old lady accepted the information from the guy about the lottery ticket. For me, I'm seeing videos just like that. That most of them are pre-planned videos. So Miss Lima is talking about the story of the woman accepting the conversation about the lottery ticket and then subsequently them robbing her. This particular video was interesting to me because, yes, he could have easily just walked up and said, you're out here. I see you're asking for money. Here, here, let me bless you, or however it could go. I think that there was a bigger lesson here. My personal feeling is it taught the young man, you need to stand still. He could have just like I has been said, he could have gone off. He could have gone off. Yo, I'm out here doing such a thing. You walking up on me. He could have exploded. He could have run off, like Vivian said. But his standing still got him blessed. Mm-hmm. That's for me. That's a bigger lesson. Sometimes, regardless of what's going on, you've got to stand still. And I think that's what's wrong with people these days. Nobody's willing to stand still long enough to even wait for the blessing, because the blessing's got to look like something, or it's got to look like it could be a blessing or something like that. I think the bigger lesson for him was, yes, you stood still. You were being approached about something. You knew how important it was for you to stand there. And here you got somebody trying to chase you off the corner with a potential ticket. Yeah, you could have went off, but it's going to teach him later. Stand still. Because I remember 5 years ago when I could have gone off and I would have messed up my blessing. I'm going to stand still now, and possibly God is going to bless me if I stand still. So I think there was a bigger lesson to be learned here. Here's something we joke about all the time, which stimulated this conversation today. Shantice, please play the video.
Where that food come? Oh Lord! Y'all come out! Come out! Hurry up! Hurry up! Y'all come here! I don't know. Ain't this stealing? Shut up, girl! Get the food! Get the food and be quiet, man! Time break, come on! It's stealing. That's a blessing.
All right. So what got missed out of the snippet was when she opened up the door, she said, "Oh, it's DoorDash." And then the video went on. Okay. So Vivian, is this a blessing? Could this be God?
No, I wouldn't say so, because you're taking food from somebody who possibly needed this food. You don't know what the person who actually ordered this food had to go through to get this food and how badly they needed it. I don't think God is gonna set it up like that. Now, if it was just a kind person who wanted to deliver you food, that's a different story. But if they delivered it to the wrong address, then that's not a blessing. The other person who was waiting for this delivery possibly really needed it. And for your kids to be watching you do this and telling you this is stealing, ain't this stealing? We're stealing. You could have at least, gone the extra step to try to, rectify the situation instead of just forcing them to help you take all this food in the house and having them feeling this guilt that they just stole somebody's food. I don't think this is God.
Won't he do it?
WANT.
Won't he do it?
CMB.
Yeah.
CMB.
Oh, Pastor KL, is this God? Will God bless you like this?
Well, I'm glad Vivian cleared it up for me, because I thought from seeing it, I thought that she said DoorDash, but it was actually somebody just dropping off groceries at the house as a blessing. But no, if it was all cooked food and DoorDash, no, God ain't doing that. Cause now I'm next door. and it's my food. You just got the address mixed up, and I'm hungry.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, we got a, and then I hear you and I see you bringing all my food in your house. The blessing is about to change to a curse real quick, real quick.
Oh my goodness. Shantice, is this a blessing? Could God bless you like this? Is this God?
I don't think there's a cookie cutter answer to this, because I remember when, was it Domino's? One of them pizza spots delivered, I think it was 2 pies here. And we were all confused because we like, okay, well, maybe so-and-so ordered this. Yo, your pizza here. I ain't order no pizza. Yo, so-and-so, your pizza here. I ain't order no pizza. So now we done went through the house. Okay, whose pizza is this? So now we standing here with 2 pizza pies. And we're like, okay, where could this pizza belong to? Come to find out, it was from a neighbor way down the street. I don't know how they got the address mixed up. Because it's one thing if it belongs next door or 2 doors down. It was at the house on the corner. It was like, well, thank God we ain't start busting out the Dixie plates and start divvying up the pies, because you just been out of luck, or you would have been 1 pie down. But we did our due diligence to try. For real, like you would just have to take the other pie. But we did our due diligence in trying to find, and it was crazy because right before we was about to say, well, we tried, eat up. They came walking outside like,
yeah, the guy came
pieces?
Walking down the block.
Yeah, did you get some pieces? And we was like, gosh darn it. Okay, whatever. Thank God this house ain't never hungry, because if God don't bless us with anything else in here, we got food. Now, if you tried to do something like that and then no one, because as the recipient who didn't order it, the only thing you can do is try. And the only reason why we were able to try to see who it was because the delivery guy gave us the phone number.
Yeah.
If the delivery guy didn't give us the phone number and Pastor Steph didn't try to call that number, we wouldn't have known it was the neighbor down the block. So if you now dealing with one of these lazy DoorDash drivers who just stand at the curb and throw your stuff up on the stoop and walk off, how am I supposed to now find out whose food this is? If I go knock on a few houses and anybody answering, then it might be a blessing. Maybe the person didn't really need it. They were just too lazy to go get it, but they really had. We got a delivery here yesterday. Some things we needed, some things were a luxury. But even the things we needed, if we had to wait till today to go get it, we were able to. So it's up to the recipient. Am I now going to just sit here and say, oh, free food, and not do my due diligence and making sure this doesn't belong to one of my neighbors? Or am I going to actually try to find out to now see does it belong? But you could tell she's just as lazy as a DoorDash deliverer. She just opened the door, saw some bags. It could have been a bomb in one of them bags. She wouldn't have known to have made it in the house, because she didn't call the kids to come help facilitate these bags making it in. You gotta at least try to see who the stuff belongs to.
No, she wasn't lazy. She was greedy.
Vivian,
we're about to lose you. And we thank you for your contribution. Anything on your way out?
Yeah, I agree. That wasn't laziness. She really thought that this was her blessing, and she just snatched that stuff up. She didn't consider anything, but just making sure that you're checking with God first. You can't claim something to be a blessing if you ain't get the green light from God. Just make sure you're praying about this thing and waiting for a response before you move.
All righty. Thank you so much for your contribution. And we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You as well. Have a good day, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. For me, this like I said, this launched our conversation today. And my thing is, she didn't wait to see if it was a blessing or not. She opened up the door. She said DoorDash. And she was like, oh, there's food. Come on. Hey, come on and get this food. Listen, she didn't look around to see if there was a DoorDash person still there to verify, like Shantice said, to verify that this was the right or wrong address. She immediately, and see, here's the thing. I'm not even thinking she thought this was God. There wasn't enough thought time. There was nothing in this process. If you watch that video again, she opened up the door. She said, DoorDash. She said, oh, Shantice, come on, get the food. Get this food. Come on. the food. And she must be teaching them something. Because two of them said, it was two different voices who said, isn't this stealing? This is stealing. And there was a third time that those words were reiterated. So between two people, it was said 3 times. Right there, in my opinion, that was God. That was God to jolt you. Because what are you showing the kids? That's why I said you clearly had to be teaching them something. Mm-hmm. Somebody's teaching them something, because that was the first thing they said. When she, no, come on, get the dog. Ain't this stealing? Why was that so? Mm-hmm. Come to their thought, because they've been taught something. You tell them, shut up, just get the food. You know, like I said, we joke about this all the time. You know, well, hey, girl, this must be God. And we know good, well, it ain't no God. Miss Halima says, no, you are all little kids. That probably was a blessing to her, although it wasn't for her. No, if it ain't for you, it's not a blessing. That's not biblical. It's not biblical. If it's not for you, it's not a blessing. Why? Because God has your blessing with your name on it. If it was meant for you, then it is meant for you. Maybe and here's the thing, it could have been I think Vivian said it. It could have been, because that's what I thought when I saw it yesterday. It could have been something that someone thought enough for you, because there's a lot of kids in that house. It could have been someone who thought enough for you to just say, you know what, let's go grocery shopping and let's bless Shantice's household. That is very much possible. If that's the case, then that's a blessing. But if here's the thing, and let me rephrase this, because this might be where Miss Halima is going. Let me rephrase this. Go back to what Shantice said. If this woman opened up her door, she found all these groceries, and she said, wait a minute, where's the DoorDash guy? Where's the DoorDash guy? You know, hey. This is not us. Can you tell us the address? And he says, I lost the receipt. Because we've had DoorDash where a couple of people who are DoorDash drivers, they go to the person's house and they don't answer the door. Mm-hmm. And now they have food and the food is theirs. That's a blessing. That would be a blessing. Mm-hmm. You did your due diligence. You went, you tried to deliver the food. Nobody answered the door. So now the food belongs to you. And I know somebody a while ago who said they were hungry and it was a blessing. Yes, if you did your due diligence and you found that this was supposed to be for you and you tried your best to make sure that this was not for somebody else ordered, then yeah. You know, I read in the comments, somebody said, well, you know what? At the end of the day, it was their blessing because the person would get a refund. The person who really ordered the food. We got to be real careful about certain things. That's why the question is this God? Would God bless you like this? If you did not do your due diligence to ensure that, hey, this doesn't belong to us, that's your responsibility. Because guess what? That DoorDash drop. Oh, perfect example. The other day, I was on the phone with somebody. Somebody's knocking on the door, and this is a person, don't knock on their door. They're knocking. So finally they're yelling, who? So they're like, they live in a building, long hallway. They live in a building. They kept asking, who? So finally, it was like, it's like DoorDash or somebody. So they overeat something. So they said, all right, leave it, because they couldn't understand. They thought it was a pharmacy delivery. So it was like, did you know what? We don't know. We weren't expecting this. Leave it at the door. So when they looked through the peephole and they saw that the person was down the hallway, they opened up the door. It was food. So they said, wait, we didn't order food. So they said, what apartment are you looking for? So the guy gave the apartment. It was their apartment. So it was like, no, we didn't order this. So they thought to ask, what building are you looking for? So he said, the next building. No, he didn't say the building at first. So then they said, well, where's the phone number? Because he really couldn't speak English. They said, where's the phone number? Where's the phone number? So they called. So they told him, so they had him on speakerphone, and the lady said, I live in this building. They said, oh, your food is here. We're sending him over there. That's doing your due diligence. Had they opened up that door and taken that food in, and that man was standing at that elevator, that would have been stealing. They knew good and well they didn't order no food. Now the person's over there in the next building waiting for their food. So according to the person in the notes, in the comments, well, as long as that person would get a refund, it's a blessing. No, we got to be real careful, because here's the thing: you gonna blow your biggest blessing taking something that doesn't belong to you. So next video, Shantice, any video you want to show, I'm good with.
Okay.
Stuff in your coat right now? No? Okay. Employees said they saw you stuff from your basket into your jacket.
No, I just threw all my stuff back because I was supposed to be my other half here, and he never showed up. I just tried calling him, actually.
I'll give you an opportunity right now to take everything out. That's gonna be your one and only opportunity. Alright, there we go. You don't have hat or gloves? I'll buy these for you. I know it's tough, but there's other ways. Call us for help, alright? Again, it's cold, but 947 ain't worth, especially like if you're out on bond and stuff. Alright, Jamie, don't come back, okay? Alright.
Interesting one. All right, I'm going to reserve my comments for these last two videos at the end in my closing, because I want to definitely show these. I want to definitely get the due time crew. Shantice, is this the blessing? You got the cop who shows up to the store. This woman has stuffed a hat and a scarf in her jacket. And he asks her, did she steal? She said no. He said that the employee said you stuffed something from the basket into your jacket. She said no. It's somebody else that I'm waiting for. I'm getting ready to call him now. The cop says, listen, I'm giving you one more chance to do this, to do the right thing. She didn't say anything. He said, you got one more chance to do the right thing. She says, okay, I'll take out my hat and gloves. She took out the hat and gloves. He said, you don't have hat and gloves? She said, no. He said to the clerk, I'll buy these for her. He calls it in. He says, whatever the code number is, he dismisses the charge. And he gives her the money, and he says, don't come back to the store anymore. Is that a blessing? Shantice, is that God?
Absolutely, because people have got locked up for less. And I'm looking at her body, and I'm like, unless you are a little deformed, you got something in your coat. Like, and she looks like she's on drugs. So that can attest to just the instantaneous stuffing and not trying to be strategic, because you need something, but then you're not completely in your right mind. So it's just, well, I got on a coat. It should be able to camouflage, and it's like, ma'am, no, you're not a pro at this, okay? But it's definitely a blessing, because he could have arrested her like she would have deserved, regardless of her story, or he could have just let her go and she still would have walked out there empty-handed. But yet, now he goes and he purchases this for you, and your consequence is you can't come back to this location. But maybe if you clean yourself up, they may not even know it's you, but you just don't come back here. I'll take that consequence after stealing, so absolutely, this was a true blessing.
Okay. Pastor KL.
I'm kind of on the fence because this is my business. So I don't always see it as a blessing. I see that you just enable this person. You couldn't get away with it here and you went somewhere else. You got blessed that you didn't go to jail, but it didn't fix the problem. You know what I mean? You still, this is still who you are. So now you'll go down the block and do it again. So I just think you got lucky. I don't think you got blessed.
Okay, all righty. Lady Tamika, was this, is this God? Was this a blessing?
Considering her plight, there are two ways you can think about that. You can think of it as Jesus saying, go and sin no more. But the sad part about it is he didn't say go and sin no more. He was like, don't come to this store. The sad part about that is you got caught in this store. Does that mean to that person, you don't know their mentality? Okay, so I won't go here, I'll go over there. And sometimes they're repeat offenders. This is what we call recidivism. So you're in for this, you go out, you come out and you do it again, which is a sad part. Okay, so I'm not going to steal at Family Dollar. I'll go to, Dollar General, or some other place. She got favor because she didn't go to, to jail at that time, and that is a blessing for that moment. But what's the mentality of her? The mentality that we're looking at is, okay, I passed that one, and the sad part about it is she may do it again. She may not be sane enough in her mind to say, okay, that's it for me, I'm done, because he bought the hat, and the other item for her.
Okay, all righty. All right, like I said, I'll save my comments for the end. Shantice, we got another video.
Yes.
Queen James Bible? Really?
It's called the Queen James Bible. It's a gay Bible. That's what it describes itself as.
You can't go into it trying to make it say what you want it to say.
There's so many false truths being shared with us.
The biblical worldview is something that is being lost.
We have got to know what the Word of God says for ourselves.
Amen. Listen, you can't change the Word of God. Or let me rephrase that. You can try to change it like you just did, but it will lead you on a path to hell because it is not the truth. The true liberating Word of God, the only one that Jesus offers, cannot be altered without consequences. Type amen and share this with a friend.
All righty. Lady Tamika, what say you?
People are always trying to come up with something, and I just think it's horrible that, now all of a sudden you want to transition the word. The word is the word. And it's not going to change, and it's gotten to the point now where you have to be very, very cautious of what you read. Even sometimes reading from your phone, it won't give you this version, it'll give you what it wants, and you have to be very, very careful, because it's almost as if you're putting water on a sauce, it'll still be saucy, but it won't have the same taste. It changes it, transitions it. And each time that you transition a word from the guy, it changes the meaning of it, and I think it's horrible that now this is what you're doing with the Word of God. Just horrible.
All righty. Shantice, what say you?
Revelation 22:18 through 19 says, I testify and warn everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book, its predictions, consolations, and admonitions. If anyone adds anything to them, God will add to him the plagues, afflictions, calamities, which are written in this book. And if anyone takes away from or distorts the words of the book of this prophecy, God will take away from that one his share from the tree of life and from the holy city, New Jerusalem, which are written in this book. And that's what Jesus said. So you can keep messing around with the doctrine if you want to. You're just going to add more consequences to your life, not only in this life, but when it's time for Jesus to determine if you're going to reign with him or get sent to hell, you will be one of the goats on the left getting sent to hell because you decided to add or take away from God's word.
All righty, all righty. Pastor KL.
Well, Shanti said it well. The word says, "Do not add or subtract." Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He don't need nothing extra. And if you take it away, you're just going to dilute the word. So just keep it as it is.
All righty. My dude, Tom Crow, thank you so much for your contribution into today's conversation. And we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank
You as
you.
well. You as well.
Thank you. All righty. All right. Let's talk about the last video first. We have a changing of this wording. You even going to change from King James Version to the Queen James Version because of the LGBTQ lifestyle. In all honesty, it would be no different than a murderer changing the word, or a thief changing the word, or an adulterer changing the word, anybody changing the word. We can't change the word of God. It says what it says. We alter it to fit our personal agendas, our personal lifestyles, our personal preferences. Then we gamble. We gamble with the wrath of God. You can't change the DMV book. Whatever it says, that's what it is. If you look at the rules of the DMV book, you're trying to learn how to drive so you can pass the driving test, the written test, and subsequently drive the road test. If you alter anything in that DMV book, guess what? And do it your way, you're going to fail. Well, why would changing anything in the Bible render any other results but failure? Whoever wrote the book will deem you not doing it correctly. We in the book, it cautions us not to add, take away. But even without that, like I said, if I go and it tells me to put the arm up, means that it's going to be a right turn, and I say, well, you know what, my arm up, I'm gonna make a left turn because it's more comfortable for me. And you do that on a road test, and that's what is the rule, you're gonna fail. You're gonna get that wrong. It's the same thing. It doesn't work any other way. So we're going to have to understand that it is what it is, whether we agree, whether we disagree. And again, God does not force us either way. He has his book, he has his rules, and we can accept it or we can reject it. Same way with DMV. If you want to drive and you want to pass the test, you can go what's in the book, or you can, say, okay, I don't want to, go by those rules, and you can fail the test. It's really on you. So, I don't argue with people about what's in the Bible. I just let you know what's in the Bible, and that's what we and I live by. But other than that, I'm not battling you, because it says what it says. When we talk about the woman in the store and the police officer who doesn't arrest her and doesn't charge her, the question is it God? Is this a blessing? The answer is yes. Here's what I heard, and maybe I misunderstood. I heard, and I love it because that's where my head went. Jesus says, go and sin no more, to the woman in the Bible, when everybody wanted to throw stones, and he said, those who are without sin, cast the first stone. And he looks, nobody speaks up. He looks at her and says, go and sin no more. What I heard was, I don't know if it's a blessing, because we don't know her mentality. We don't know if she's gonna be a repeat offender. I'm in this business, and I don't know if this is a blessing. I'm on the fence because you told her don't come back to this store, so she's going to go back. Our blessings are not contingent necessarily on what we do after we're blessed. So let's go back to the biblical story of, well, go and sin no more. It didn't matter whether she went and sinned again. She was blessed to not have been stoned by the people who were after her. Now, if she wanted to blow the blessing and then go, do whatever they were accusing her of, then that's what she did. The question is this God? Is she blessed? She was absolutely blessed, because this was God putting it on this officer's heart, not to arrest her and then to give her what she needed. Now, we don't know if this was her habit or not. We don't know whether this was her 5th time stealing or whether this was her very first time stealing. We don't know whether she would go down the block like, it was said. It's very possible that she was a person who just stole for the heck of it, and she would go next door and steal. She would go up the block and steal. She was still next week. She was still in the next hour. We have no idea of that. So you're absolutely right. However, is this God? Did God bless her with this movement? It has nothing to do with what she did afterwards. And that's what we have to make sure we keep in our mind. And like I said, I'm loving the fact, because that's where my head went. I'm loving the fact that Tamika brought up the woman who God dismissed. He blessed her. It was on her to do what she wanted to do. Let me tell you something. There have been many a testimony of people who went to do something and they were blessed to be able to get away with it. And they said, I came so close to that, I just vowed I'd never do it again. And they never did. It was because God allowed them to be blessed, because he knew that they wouldn't do it anymore. He knew that she would do it again. But it doesn't mean he's not going to bless us. Put yourself in that position. How many times are we willing to say that God didn't bless us because we went back and we did the same thing again? God did bless us. We just were wicked and did the same thing again. We were just disobedient and did the same thing again. Does that dismiss the blessing? When you got into debt and God got you out the debt, he didn't bless you? He didn't bless you because you now went and got back up into the debt? Oh, absolutely. He did. So we got to keep things in the proper perspective. We looked at a series of different things today in these videos, whether they were fake, whether they were real. We do know that these things can happen. We can have a person walk up on us and give us, money. My car broke down, and at the same time, I had someone say, you know what, here, I'm not using my car. You can use my car. And someone came to me and said, here, Stephanie, God told me to give you this. And she handed me, when I opened it up, it was $100. And I was blessed out of nowhere. Like it was said, you could just give me the blessing, or they could have made a fanfare about it, and it doesn't change the blessing, but I was blessed that way, just so people do it all the time. I've done it. I've said, here, just take this. And they're like, I don't know. I said, I don't know. God just told me to do that. You have to be willing to do what God says and do it how God says to do it. Sometimes it's real cut and dry, and other times it's not cut and dry. It does go along with the little fanfare, because again, there's more to this than meets the eye. Again, I say, that guy, he could have been, later on down the line getting ready to do something, and something stopped him. And he thinks about that particular time. I could have went off. I would have blown my blessing. So, when we look at God, let's look at God. Let's recognize God. Again, we go back to the switch tip from the beginning of the week. Recognize God. Sometimes God will allow some real unconventional things to happen. We can't figure it out. We can't make it out. It's like, what in the world was that? You know, I've been called to do some unconventional things that I would have never done if it weren't for God telling me and instructing me to go do that. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that on my own. And baby, I was in some discussions with the Lord. So, you know, God comes from every direction. He can come from any direction. And we just thank God for him being him. Because if he were like man, we'd be jacked up. If God were like man, boy, a whole lot of stuff would not happen. So let's recognize God. We're going back to the switch tip. Let's recognize God. Let's try to understand God. We keep an open mind about who God is and the things that God does. Okay? You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit as you go through your day. Be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew for always coming through big time. Thank you for hanging out with us and keeping that chat room alive. Please do not miss this opportunity to give Christ your life right now. Please do not miss this opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Until tomorrow, God spares, where is Freestyle Friday. Until then, I love